Well, and they have the dragons, and the dragons aren't like Volvos. Like, it ain't like just anyone can ride them.
Yeah, right.
You know,
it has to
like,
be your specific
yeah.
dragon.
Yeah, so she's like, I'll go.
It ain't like dragons or like Volvos.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey guys, welcome back to Little House of the Dragon, Lady Kirby and
Lord Corey, it's been a tumultuous couple of episodes. We have a lot of drinks, a lot of goblets to pour out for people that, well, at least some that we didn't want to see go. That's
yeah.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been great. I said last week that 2 and 3 were my this is Dolores, by the way. She's the house hound.
Mm-hmm.
I said last week that 2 and 3 were probably my favorite episodes of the whole series because they felt really, really Game of Thronesy,
Mm-hmm.
and which, like, you know, a lot of people could take many other ways. It's like, it's kind of like, did you watch Boba Fett?
Mm-mm.
Of course, you're not like big into Star Wars.
No.
Well, in Star Wars, they had this show come out called The Book of Boba Fett, and everybody was super excited about it. I was like super jazzed about it because Boba Fett was a mercenary, and the whole premise of the show was that Boba Fett was going to work for the Huns, and the Huns are the Hutts, and the Hutts is like Jabba the Hutt and them.
Yeah.
So Jabba the Hutt and them, they're like the Italian mobsters of the Star Wars universe. So in my brain, because me and Trey had like pitched this for years and years and years, like, what we need is a Sopranos style show about the Hutts set in the Star Wars universe. And so when the Book of Boba Fett finally came out, we thought like, oh my God, they're doing that.
Yeah.
Now it was on Disney Plus. I'm not one of those people who is like, Disney ruins everything. But if you're going to have something come out on Disney Plus, it does have to be a little family friendly. So I was like, well, we're not getting that. Well, Book of Boba Fett came out and was kind of like just whatever. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it was just kind of whatever.
Yeah.
Well, about midway through the season of Book of Boba Fett, they reintroduced the Mandalorian into that show, who is a crowd favorite, who everybody loves.
Yeah.
So we were like, oh, the Book of Boba Fett hits now. But it's like, it only hits because they basically just turned it into the Mandalorian season 2.5. So when I say like, ooh, House of the Dragon is crushing for me because it's becoming more Game of Thrones, it's like, is that a compliment to the writers, or is it just kind of like they were like, we know what people want. We know that they want House Tully. They know that they want but whatever it is, I'm fully in. And I think that they have 100% continued that theme in episodes 3 and 4. Big time, big battles. We're going to get into it later, but the battle at Rook's Rest, is that what it's called? You texted me afterwards and you were like, I'm not quite sure it was Battles of the Bastardy, but it kind of gave me visions of something like that.
Yeah.
So a lot of battles, a lot of dragons, a lot of houses raising banners, a lot of subterfuge, a lot of turmoil, and it's been fun.
Yeah. Well, one of my big takeaways from both episodes, and it's kind of like last episode that we did, the lines get blurry between the two episodes since we're doing two episodes at once. One of my big takeaways, Aegon, is he gonna be kind of like a Jaime Lannister where we end up like forgiving his past sins?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
because you think back to last season, which it took Jaime Lannister a while for us to feel that way. But
which is why that arc was so good and so well thought out.
Yeah, and so effed up.
Right.
That they ended it the way they did. But like, you start feeling bad for Aegon, and I'm like reminding myself, like, okay, no, think of all the things he did, but like, I can't help but feel bad for him.
I can't help but feel bad for him either. And I also think that, like, I take some of the stuff these tiny little young kings do with a grain of salt, because like, don't get me wrong, they're evil and fuck them, but at the same time, like, they've never known any other type of life. Like, he grew up around the king's court. He's completely sheltered off from the world. And now granted, he watched his dad be basically heralded as, Viserys the merciful, so it's not like he grew up under someone like Robert Baratheon or like a Daenerys type, like a Mad King type. So like I'd say Viserys is as close to like a Tomlin as there was, where it's like he was a merciful king. He really did just want everyone to get along. A lot of that to his detriment, which just goes to show you that's like, look, man, sometimes these people make horrible, bad decisions, but when you look at the seeds that it sows and stuff, it's like, yeah, the realm was better for it. And at the end of the day, it's like all about the greater good. And I'm not in any way justifying or going to bat for monarchies or whatever, but like, that kid didn't have a choice to who he was born to. And then he didn't have a choice to assume the role of king when he was super young. So yeah, I don't think it's wrong to be like, I feel bad for him on an emotional level.
Well, most of his unjustifiable behavior was when he was a prince. It was when his dad was still alive.
Right. And like, you're gonna have that. I mean, look back at all the stuff that I did as a teenager, and our parents weren't king and queen.
Yeah, I know. I'm
You know
just
what I
talking
mean?
about the rape and the kid fight.
Oh, you were not raped. And dude, yes.
But I will say,
He did horrible things.
That time, I don't think that it was as seen as bad as it is now.
No, of course not. And again, like,
he was taught to take what he wanted.
He was taught to take what he was. Again, I'm not saying that is right, but he was a minor, and it's all about how you learn from your mistakes and stuff like that. But I think the analogy that you're going with is trying to compare him to Jaime Lannister, and it's like Jaime Lannister also threw a kid out of a window. And also, now this isn't in the show, this is in the book, but in the book, I think me and you have talked about this before, the scene where Jaime and the queen regent, oh my lord, I'm so out of Game of Thrones, Cersei. The scene where Jaime and Cersei have sex right beside Joffrey's body. In the show, it was depicted as she finally gave in and it was something they wanted to do. But in the book, he straight up raped her. Like in the show, he does too. Okay, right. But I'm saying in the show, it was definitely, it was forced upon sexual assault turning into, but I'm saying in the book, it was more, she never once even remotely gave in, like at all.
Yeah.
Like I understand what you're saying is like there's 2 to 3 different types, but in the book, it was the type where she never even gave him a nod and a wink of like, okay, fine, if you want to do this, we're going to do this. Like, it was gruesome, But again, we ended up not only forgiving him, but like standing for him, which goes to show you how much different this type of stuff is versus real life. If we knew someone in real life who sexually assaulted, sorry for the trigger words and stuff like this, but sexually assaulted one of our friends, we would not forgive them because they led a good battle somewhere.
No.
You know what I mean? We'd be like, well, thank you for getting us out of that jam, rapist. And then we'd walk away. But in the show, it's like you get to see all the little nuances.
Well, side note, before I don't want to forget this. Did you notice that whenever the white worm, she tells Rhaenyra there's more than one way to win a war,
White worm's Viserys, right?
No,
No. I'm saying she's this show's Viserys. Don't you think?
No, because she's like cunning and smart and.
Not Viserys, Varys, Lord Varys.
Yes, Varys.
See, these goddamn names.
Yeah.
She's this show's Lord Varys.
Yeah.
The spider.
She is.
She's like playing both sides.
Yeah.
But in her brain, she can justify it with, I want what's best for the realm.
Yeah. Well, did you notice that whenever she sent a spy into King's Landing, did you notice whose door that the spy went to?
Hold on, I'm trying to remember. Who was the spy she sent?
I mean, just like a handmaiden or something.
Whose door did she go to?
The girl that Egon raped.
Ooh,
that
you
worked
are,
at the castle.
you are correct.
That ended up having to work as a barmaid.
Right, because he got her pregnant, right? And they had to.
Well, she took the moon tea or whatever. I don't know if she was.
Ooh, speaking of moon tea,
Allison.
that's what the show the first episode opens up with is her getting her plan B tea, which I think the only person aside from the Maester who like the Maester is probably obviously that whatever they have that's like HIPAA, he's definitely got that.
Well, I mean, he's just vowed to their family. So
yeah.
He's not, you know.
But in their sense, HIPAA doesn't land you in jail. It gets your head cut off.
Yeah.
But we see Lord Strongfoot go in there and all he does is see the cup and he doesn't say anything. He literally just grabs the cup, smells it, looks at her and is just like, you know, in other words, like, well, I have this information now. So you better pull them shoes off and let me see them piggies.
Yeah, and I'm sure he already knows it's Kristen Cole.
Of course he does. There's nothing that guy don't know.
No.
Proceed.
Let's see. Yeah, so he's got her figured out with the whole moon tea. It's called moon tea, right?
I think it's called moon tea.
Yeah. And then let's see. We got you good?
Yeah.
You got Damon. I wish this dog would decide what she wants.
She's fine. She does. This is what she does.
I wish. Sorry. We got Damon and Harrenhal just tripping balls still.
Yeah, he's having a bad trip. It seems like a fun place to be if you've not got demons. But it's like, I've always thought that, like, you know, I've always been able to do mushrooms. Like, I can do, like, however many mushrooms you can do, I can do 10 times that amount of mushrooms and I'll go fine.
I've never done any.
And
I would never.
No, I know. I'm just saying, but like, I don't have, but I have I think even though I have my demons and stuff like that, like, I feel overall like a good person who I don't have a guilty conscience about anything. So when I do mushrooms, I just have a good time. But then I see like evil people that I know and they'll talk about how they have bad trips and stuff like that. And I'm like, of course you had a bad trip. As soon as your mind opened, you saw the horribleness that was in it, you know? And so with Damon, it's like, yeah, you can't be doing psychedelic drugs, bro, because like
he ain't doing drugs. It's just the castle.
It's just the castle. Yeah.
Alice Rivers. But we have Lord Tully's grandson comes and, you know, Damon's, you know, wanting to gather a army for Rhaenyra, which, by the way, he tells the strong guy to call him the king.
Right.
Not even King Regent.
And he's like,
call me king.
Yeah, he says, call me king. He's like, why? You're the prince. And he's like, is my wife not the queen? And he's like, that makes you the king consort. And he goes, I just find the back half of that name to be pointless.
Yeah. And I'm like, dang, Damon. Okay. So it's painting this picture that Damon's trying to, you know,
usurp.
Yes.
Like he wants, basically what it seems like at the bare minimum is that Damon wants her queendom to run like the Bush-Cheney administration, where it's like, okay, Bush is the president, but we all know. We all know who's really running the shots. And it's like a misogynistic thing. It's like, hey, y'all have a queen because she's the one that Viserys actually wanted. But like, if you go with her, don't worry. I'll be the one doing all the stuff. And let's face it, it should have been me anyways.
Yeah. So the kid like tells him, like, basically, I can't do nothing. My grandpa's, you know, on his deathbed, and like he makes the decision. And Damon's just like, I mean, can you just like put a pillow over his face?
Yeah, just like
speed everything up.
Yeah, just and so matter of factly too. He's like, why don't you just kill him and then this will all be fine? And the kid it looks at him like, yeah. And Damon's just like stone faced, like, no, that'd be like the best use.
Yeah.
And then the kid's like, nah, and Damon's like, you're of no use to me.
Yeah. and then we cut to Rhaenys hollering at the sea snake. She goes and sees him, and then she sees the guy that saved the sea snake, and she figures out
clearly his son.
Clearly his son. She realized.
So that's how I was supposed to interpret that?
Yes.
Okay, because they weren't just alike.
Well, yeah, and she puts her hand over his face and said, your mother must have been beautiful or whatever. And then, being a true lady boss legend baddie, she tells the which, by the way, Sea Snake literally like gets mad at her.
Yeah. How dare you out one of my bastards?
Yeah. And she says to him, like, his past is no fault of his own. He should be honored instead of hidden beneath the tides, which I thought, oh my God, how good, how sweet of her. If only Catelyn Stark.
No kidding. I mean,
could have had that attitude.
The complete antithesis of Catelyn Stark, or the opposite, or whatever. I don't know what antithesis means. I think I'm right, but yeah, like, dude, God, that it's so funny you say that, because when that happened, that's exactly what I first thought of like how, granted, if Catelyn Stark hadn't been that way, there was a lot of things that it wouldn't have set off, and we wouldn't have had a good show. But like, she was always my least favorite character, but it was not because she was a woman. There was plenty of women that I loved. It was specifically because
her treatment,
especially now, I say this all the time, and I know it gets old, especially now that I'm a father, seeing a kid who had no decision, especially now that we know a goddamn born Targaryen with dragon in his blood, but like how it also makes Jon Snow even more of a badass.
Yeah.
Like, that he was able to take all that hate and be like, I'm still honorable. I'm still good. Because he easily could have been just like a piece of shit, you know?
Yeah.
But like, Catelyn, dude, like, what are you, like, take it out on your husband.
I know.
You know?
And that scene where she tells him to leave or whatever when Bran was still unconscious, and Ned overhears it and he doesn't do anything about it.
It's like, is he not still his brother?
Yeah, exactly.
Is he not still his brother? Like, and I don't believe in like, I just don't believe in halves and all that stuff. It's like, if you've got the same parent, even one of your brothers,
yes,
your brothers, there's no, so it's my half, it's my, no, y'all are blood, your brothers.
Oh yeah, for sure. So that happens with Rhaenys and Cole, and I can't remember what land he just won.
The something lands, the crown lands.
No, I think it starts with a D.
The diphtheria, whatever.
Yeah. Oh well, he just won some lands, and so they are like, okay, he's starting to win some battles. He's getting people, and we got to figure this out. And so they're like, it looks like he's heading towards Rook's Rest.
Great name, by the way.
Yeah, and that's a small little coastal reach, and so they're like
dividing the Blackwoods and the what's their face, right?
The Brackens. I'm not sure.
Okay, it don't matter.
So Rhaenyra's like, let me go on a dragon. And Rhaenys is like, no, let me do it. And I had that moment of, oh God, this is just like whenever Luke died. So she goes.
Which it's like, of course, it's like, Rhaenyra, come on, you can't. Because like, if you do and you die, what's this all for?
Yeah, but like back in the day, like when like Aegon the Conqueror, like he did.
No, I know they did like that. And that's what's a crazy thing is like, back in the day, kings and stuff like that, which I respect, like they were like, no, I'm not asking my army to do nothing that I wouldn't do. It just is kind of crazy because it's like one thing can go wrong and it's like all of this was null and void.
Well, and they have the dragons, and the dragons aren't like Volvos. Like, it ain't like just anyone can ride them.
Yeah, right. It has to be your specific dragon.
Yeah, so she's like, I'll go.
It ain't like dragons or like Volvos.
Yeah, well, I mean, and also Rhaenyra's dragon is like this, I think like the second biggest in the kingdom.
Malaya.
No, Meleys is
I thought we were talking
Meleys is Rhaenys's dragon.
That's who I thought we were talking about. R.I.P.
Yeah, but so Rhaenys decides to go, like the ultimate bad A. She goes and, she's doing her thing or whatever. And they have Vhagar there. Vhagar and Meleys.
And in a world of Volvos, Vhagar is a military grade Hummer.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, Aegon shows up, which Cole, none of them knew that Aegon was showing up. And he shows up because his mom basically just said, we need you to be quiet and not do nothing.
And he was like, absolutely not.
Yeah, and he's drunk and he decides to go.
All of this stemming from Otto saying nobody respects you, which, by the way, an Otto-less 2 episodes.
Oh, no, is he going to come back?
I mean, he has
I need him to come back.
I do too,
I
because
need him to
that
come back.
can't be the end of his story.
No, it's too good. I need him. I need him to come back.
What if he goes to Rhaenyra's side?
Oh, he might. I doubt it.
I doubt it too, because everything he's done is predicated upon the fact of this is my family and I want power, and he would make no sense over there. But like, something's got to happen, and it's not, he ain't gonna save the day, or maybe he does. I don't know.
Yeah. Aegon comes out of nowhere, and him and Rhaenys and her dragon start fighting. And his dragon is smaller than Meleys. And so he's thinking, like, oh, God, this ain't good. And all of a sudden, Vhagar, with Aemond riding, comes out of nowhere. And he's like, he says, oh, thank the gods. Like, oh, thank God. Like, Vhagar's going to come in and help. Well, Aemond seizes the opportunity and is like, you know what? Like, I'm tired of being made fun of. I was born for this. Like, he has it in him. He's always thought I should, I should be the heir. I should be king. And he Dracarys him. And all of a sudden, Aegon is, in flames, and him and Sunfire fall from the sky. Then,
and no one notices this. No one. This is not speculation in the next episode of like, did you Dracarys your own brother? You know what I mean? Like,
what do you mean? No. What do you mean no one notices?
Well, like, they're all asking, like, where is Aegon or whatever, and what's his face, Boy, is just like, I don't know.
Oh, you're saying, like, no one necessarily. Well, Cole's got it figured out.
Cole's got it, but I'm saying, like, it's not a rumor amongst the castle that this happened.
Yeah, no.
And therefore, Boy is sort of
Cole's
hiding in plain sight. Yeah, exactly.
And Alicent knows there's more to it, and she knows that Cole knows. And obviously, I mean, I get it. Cole's like, I ain't saying nothing.
And it's real convenient when he's in the king's chambers and is like, well, I guess it's going to be me. Grabs his ball, and it's kind of like he's moving with the action of someone who isn't grieving his brother, but is like, this worked out exactly how I thought it was going to work out.
Yeah, exactly. And so after that, Vhagar and Meleys, Rhaenys' dragon, Rhaenys has the opportunity just to be like, you know what, this is done. I'm just going to fly.
I'm out. Yeah, which I would have done.
And she decides to go back. And I think that Meleys was already injured. So
Meleys had already been bit once.
Yeah, so she knew, like, this is probably it for us. We might as well go down, like, fighting. Well, all of a sudden, Vhagar, big, grainy biot, huge, comes up and tears Meleys's head off while Rhaenys is on her, and Rhaenys falls backwards.
Very much like Jack in Titanic.
Yeah.
Just like, oh. And man.
To her death, and Meleys, like, lights up into flames when she hits the ground.
Was there a moment where you thought, please let a dragon come and swoop under and save her? Or did you immediately know she was dead?
I immediately knew she was dead.
I did too, but like I held out for hope, because I think that
I thought she was going to die when she decided to volunteer.
Right. I mean, yeah, me too, but like, it just sucks because I think that if not our favorite, she's definitely in our top 3 favorite characters.
Yeah, she was my favorite.
She was honestly probably mine too, just because of, I mean, look, I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm basing a lot of this on looks. She's the hottest one on the show.
Smart, level,
smart, and I was going to say funny. She, like, in a man's world, was totally like, you know what, she'd been passed over from the crown, but she wasn't bitter about it. She was like, she was always a play the cards you're dealt. You know, this is what we got. She was a wonderful lover to the sea snake. Also, we had that moment where, like, she's the she's a great grandmother. She's the complete opposite of Catelyn Stark in the sense of, I realize you've had a bastard, but you know what? He should be treated with respect because he didn't do anything wrong. Matter of fact, he saved your life, and you're just going to be like
he should be the heir to Driftmark.
Also, is him and the sea snake related in real life? Because they wouldn't even had to say anything, but they looked a lot alike.
Good point about why his head is completely shaved bald. How he's more than likely not just naturally bald, and how he's shaved his head. So
people don't know.
Yeah, so his hair doesn't grow up.
Right. Yeah, because then people will be like, what's going on here? Although, see, I would
be like, yeah, look at me.
I would grow up and be like, hey, he been throwing that snake around. He might
have been afraid that, like, he would try to kill him or something if people knew, you know.
Right, like Robert did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like Joffrey did.
Joffrey did, yeah.
Yeah.
On behalf of Robert.
Yeah. Well, no, Robert was dead.
Yeah.
Because of Robert.
Yeah. Because Robert had died and he didn't want anybody to have a claim to the throne.
Yes, yes.
Even though it's like, are they really going to let a bastard be the king?
Well, they knew
that they knew that it would prove that it would be. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. It's because Joffrey.
But you know what I've been thinking about a lot with that whole the seed is strong thing. They're like, oh, you know, Robert, all his kids are brown headed. If you go back and watch that episode, I'm pretty sure every single one of the bastards that they took from their mother, the mama had brown hair. So it's like, I mean, what if Robert just banged brown-headed ladies? Like, it's possible if you bang someone with platinum blonde hair that your kids are going to have platinum blonde hair.
Well, the whole point was if you go through the line.
None of them ever.
Well, that's kind of like, see, the Baratheons are descendants from what are they called? The First Men.
Right.
And the Starks are too. And
you just got brown hair.
Yeah, they're supposedly like they have. That's why in the book, Rhaenys, her mother was a Baratheon,
right?
And in the book, she's got dark hair,
right?
So that's why Jon Snow's hair is dark,
right?
Because he is on his Stark side, descends from the First Men,
right? Okay, fair enough. Go ahead.
All right. So we lives home.
All right, pour one out.
Yeah. Ugh. So next episode starts with, everyone being like,
it's the carnage of Restrook.
Yes.
And
I'm sorry, you're going to have to pause. I got to go to the bathroom.
Edit.
All right. So obviously everyone's mourning Rhaenys, but in King's Landing, they're like, woohoo. I say they are like, woohoo. Cole is like, woohoo, we won.
And the only one. He's the literal only one.
They committed sacrilege by having Melissa's, the dragon, head march through downtown King's Landing. And everyone's like, the dragons are like gods.
Yeah, this one little boy was like, Daddy, I thought the dragons were like gods. And the dad he looks at it for a minute and he's gathering his thoughts. And to me, it looks like he's being like, he's right. What do I say? And then he goes, it's just a bit of flesh.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
but the temperament of the crowd.
That's a bad omen. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah. The temperament of the crowd is not good. And Cole's like, they're acting like we haven't won. And somebody, I can't remember who, was just like, I mean, have we?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, Aegon, they bring Aegon to the castle, and Alicent's like, is he gonna live? And they're like, we don't know. And he looks bad. I mean,
he's got 3rd-degree burns over his whole body.
Yeah, like I saw like a side by side where someone like compared him to like what Viserys looked like on his deathbed, and it's very similar.
Yeah. And like Two-Face in The Dark Knight Rises, or The Dark Knight.
Yes. So, and then did you hear Aegon say mommy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like he just wants his mother's love.
And again, I'm feeling for him in that moment. It's a big moment for the writers to be like, let's humanize him. Like he's still, yes, he's a king, blah, 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 but he's also a boy.
Yeah, he ain't no Joffrey.
He's not no Joffrey.
Because there was never, ever, 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 ever a time that Joffrey did anything redeeming.
No,
ever.
no.
Not even one. He literally never even had one scene.
No. No.
He was like the one character in the show. Well, him and Ramsay Bolton. Like, where they never even let you even think there was a good side. Cersei had moments where you felt for.
And also with Joffrey, like the one difference between Joffrey and Ramsay is like, at least with Ramsay, they showed his dad, Sir Bolton or whatever, being the worst. So
Joffrey didn't have that.
Right. So at least you go, well, you know, his dad was like this, blah, blah, blah. Now, granted, you know, Joffrey's mom was Cersei, who was the worst.
Yeah, but like, not to her children.
Right. Absolutely not to her children. She was like, but, you know, it's lead by example, you know, but no, you're right. Like,
spare the rod.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no. Like, Aegon has several moments of like, again, dude, just how he reacted to his son dying. I'm like, Joffrey wouldn't have done that. If Joffrey's kid had died, he would have been mad at every other thing beside that.
Yeah.
Like he would have been mad that someone came for his people and not mourned. So yeah.
Well, how about Helena going up to Aemond when Aemond's looking at the Iron Throne and Helena walks in? She was like, man, was it worth it? In other words, I know what you did because she's a dragon seer or whatever it's called.
Right.
She, you know, she's got it figured out because she can, you know, prevent everything from probably happening, but can't articulate her thoughts. And people just think she's just a crazy woman.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, literally, like she knows everything.
Right.
Oh, and when they marched Melise through town, the rat catchers are still hanging, and the dog is still just looking up at his master.
It's pitiful.
And one of the first things Aemond does when he becomes king regent or whatever is he said, like, for God's sake, cut the
rat catchers down. Like, dude, not just for like, okay, we've made our point.
It's
stanky. Golly, it's stanky.
I mean, I just literally can't even imagine how disgusting towns were like during that time.
Yeah, like
no plumbing.
You think for those of my friends out here who live in New York City, which this is not an indictment on the entire city because I love New York City, but y'all know how much it stinks when they let the trash out and sit there for a couple days and people have their dogs piss on it and stuff like that. Which, by the way, did you know that New York just now decided they were like, okay, we're going to use trash bins instead of just putting the trash on the street?
No.
Like just now, because usually they just let the bags just like pile up and then they get them. But like the thing is, like, it's like New York, when a dog shits on the street in New York or pees, the sun beams down on it so hard that you can like, New York is beautiful. New York is, despite what a lot of people think, very safe, very vibrant city. But when you catch just that little whiff, it's like, why does this beautiful city still smell like urine? You know, but now they're putting it in bins. But my point is, King's Landing smelled like that times a million.
Yeah, and poopy.
And livery and like the dude, the human, if you've never experienced it.
It's a very sulfur scent in town.
Yeah, of course, because like that's what happens when the gases inside you rot, you know? Like if you've ever, I've always laughed because like I know people who have walked in on dead bodies who have only been dead bodies for like 2 days. And they go, as soon as you crack the door, the scent is overwhelming. And it always cracks me up on cop shows when like they'll walk into a room where there's been a dead person for a week and nobody will do anything until someone notices the dead person. And then they'll all go, and it's like, you would have went, the second you walked in, Dad. You knew a dead person was in there.
Yeah. And if they've been dead a week, then probably when you pulled in the driveway.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So we got that going on. That's a bad omen. Alicent's got it figured out. She's got it figured out that something's happened. And she notices when her and Aemond are watching the procession of the dragon, she notices that Aemond has Aegon's knife.
Right.
Like,
yeah, they showed that scene, and I thought that's what that was.
Yes, yeah. So she's like, what?
Usurper.
Yeah, like she knows something's up. Let's see what else. Oh, before that, she says, based when they're having their like council meeting, she's like, "How about I just be the regent?" And they're all like, "We can't have
woman."
Yeah, and it's like it clicks with their like, that she thought that Cole would be on her side, but you got to remember, like they refused to have Rhaenyra because they said that the people wouldn't accept a woman ruler,
right.
so like they're not gonna accept you,
right?
Which would have been the best thing ever if she would have done it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and now I guess they've got to think about the fact that like technically we won this battle, but like because of the thing we did with the dragon and because of how it's all gone down, we've lost a lot of chutzpah for like our support. Like people are not like rallying behind us. Like it's not like right after 9/11 anymore. Like at first it was like right after 9/11 where it's like we, do this, there's been a thing. But now that they've seen the war crimes that again comparable, they're like, okay, so 9/11 was bad, but like that ain't how we should have retaliated.
Yeah, and all the while, Damon's just tripping balls in Harrenhal. He hallucinates him having a sexual encounter with his mother.
I believe that was the deal.
Yeah, it was his mom. At first, you're not really understanding, and then all of a sudden, she said, like, you're my favorite son or whatever, and then it's like, brother, ooh. What's that? Yeah. So that's not
Freudian.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Alice Rivers is really, really messing with his head. And I don't know why. I don't know what the deal is. I don't really know. I don't know her story, not a book reader. But speaking of the book, I've seen, and I can't remember if we talked about this the last episode, but I told you this. And George R. R. Martin has said this. The book, it's like the book it's obviously written by George R. R. Martin, but his intent with the book was kind of almost like the Bible.
Like a gospel.
Like how this is the story of what happened in a man's eyes.
That has been passed down from generation to generation.
Are we good?
Whatever. The breaker just broke. It's the South. What are you going to do?
Yeah. So this is, the interpretation from a man's point of view, where the TV show is actually what happened.
Right. Right.
So, that's the difference.
Therefore, both can technically be canon in a way.
Yes, exactly.
The book is an old man sitting on a rock telling you what happened. And
passed down through generations.
Yeah, and all of those stories would have had to be told from several different people, meaning like you're playing a huge game of telephone here.
Yeah, and like I was even like looking up some things on fandom, and like it'll say like, well, the rumor was this person was killed by this person, but there's really no proof of that. And I'm like, and then with something else, it'd be like, oh, well, they got killed by this person.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's one of the cool things.
Yeah, a whole lot of George Washington chopping down a cherry tree going on.
Yes.
Where it's like, did it? Or, it didn't. By the way.
Yeah.
Also, his teeth were made of slaves' teeth.
Yeah.
That's a bummer, isn't it?
Oh, I think I knew that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, I knew that they weren't wooden teeth. So, I mean, they were slave teeth or just teeth of someone dead. I mean,
yeah, it's a pretty big bummer. Anyways.
I mean, he was a slave owner, so I mean, it's not a shocker.
No, it makes total sense. Yeah, makes total sense.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I understand why someone thought, let's write wood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
or just don't mention it.
Or just don't mention it. Yeah, they have fucked up teeth. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what'd you think?
Dude, again, Loved it. It feels very Game of Thronesy to me. Like I keep forgetting that we're watching House of the Dragon and that it's not. And also, what I find to be the most awesome is like we deserve this so much after the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones. Like, it really, really feels like now I bet there was a lot of people that had a lot of trepidation of even going into this series because of the bad taste that the last couple seasons I mean, obviously, specifically season 8,
Mhm.
but, like, season 7, I think season 7 was like they were already past the books there too, and it started unraveling, right? Like if you go back and watch it, you notice a decline, and it's just because, like, you don't have the source material, and say what you want, but, like, character-wise, dialogue-wise, and stuff, George R. R. Martin is the reason that these shows are so good, and as long as you have his source material to pluck from, all you've gotta do is point the camera and cast the right people,
Yeah.
But I think that because we're back to source material, we're realizing, like, okay, this is what I wanted from Game of Thrones. The taste is no longer in my mouth, and it's just fun again. It feels like
Mhm.
waiting on Sunday for something cool's gonna
Yeah.
happen. And also they're doing a really, really, really good job of being like every now and then, I'm Team Black. We stand for Team Black,
Mhm.
but they're doing a really good job of making it not so, pardon the pun, black and white, where I'm like, I get this, I get that,
Oh,
I
if
get this,
Kristen
I get
Cole
that.
would die, then it would be very hard to choose between green and black.
Yeah, which he's gonna.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like, I mean,
They were they
we
were talking about
and
how
we
it
watched
was.
Game of Thrones. I mean, like you can't get comfortable with anybody.
Well, there's also a lot of people suggesting that it's been foretold, like when he beheads that dude
Mhm.
or whatever, and he's like, you're a traitor. I could give you a worse death. I'm giving you a better death than you deserve.
Mhm.
And that guy says, yours will come in kind.
Yeah, and
You
then he
know,
calls
and
him Kingmaker.
he calls him Kingmaker, and then Kristen Cole kind of looks at him. It's like that's foreshadowing. Like,
Mhm.
Kristen Cole's not only going to die, but Kristen Cole is going to be tortured. He's going to be like, I really do believe they're setting it up to where, like, the payoff's going to be good because they've intentionally made us hate him. We've gone from, at the very beginning, we were like, oh, look at this guy, not from nobility, that's like, we're rooting for him.
Yeah.
And now we're like, it's a reverse Jamie Lannister.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think he gets his redemption. I think that he gets his bloody demise.
Mhm.
And yeah, when he dies, if a couple things go differently, I'm like, again, Team Green, I understand Allison's point of view. I certainly understand Aegon's, like, in Aegon's brain, he's like, my daddy said me. And the only people on earth who know that that's not what he meant are Rhaenyra and Allison. And neither one of them are going to tell him.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And nor should he believe either one
Yeah.
of them. So, like, I don't know. It's great. The Battle of Rook's Nest, I think, will go up there as like the first official House of the Dragon, like this is their Battle of the Bastards or something type moment. But you know what they need? They need a red wedding. They need a red wedding. They need one, and it's coming.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Your thoughts?
Good. I mean,
5 dragons.
yeah, I mean, it was intense. The only thing that's missing from the show,
Boobies.
no, no, I just want some Winterfell.
I want some Winterfell too, but I think it's coming. But I think boobies, we've seen more penis than boobies. And like, obviously, maybe that's just to right the historical wrong in Hollywood of like, usually you get boobies and no wieners. But as a fan of boobies, I'm not against the wieners for the record, but like, I'd like to see, if we're going to go that route, I'd like to see some more boobies because Game of Thrones was lousy with boobies.
Yeah, just less mother-son dreams, and maybe just more of that would be better.
Although that is important for characterization points. It shows you what's going through Damon's head and that he's, like really troubled and something screwed up is going on. I'm worried that Damon is going to start killing the wrong people.
Oh yeah.
Like Rhaenyra.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to end up.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like a Jon Snow Dany thing, except for the wrong one gets killed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not the right one.
Yeah.
Because again, let's face it, this is Game of Thrones. Whatever you want to happen or expect to happen, probably won't. But then you'll end up liking what happened better because George R.R. Martin is a once in a generation talent.
Oh yeah, his world building is insane.
It's insane. So anything you need to plug? Any shows you got coming up?
No. I'm pretty quiet over here.
Okay, well, if you are subscribed to bonuscorey.com, you would have gotten this episode early and ad-free. You also would be supporting me and my dream of making things at home so I can stay with my child. Bonuscorey.com is also good for essays. I do bonus podcasts, all sorts of stuff. Bonuscorey.com. Also, thank you for listening to this and continue to watch our sister show, Puttin on Airs, Well Read, Gravy Baby, Weekly Skews, all the podcasts in the Skewniverse. Thank you. Also, I was on the Dollop this past week on Pastimes. If you don't watch the Dollop or listen to the Dollop, you're insane. But I know that a lot of you literally only listen to this show because I was on the Dollop. So go check out that episode. Stay fancy, y'all.
Peace.
Peace. Team Black.
Team Black.
Team Black.